All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Thursday, the 18th, and pretty lackluster price action today. I would say overall, it feels like the markets are being held. The excuse I would say for today, why we kind of just didn't have any great price action, is the government shutdown looming over us in the short term, and I would think just kind of a small event to worry about. We'll see what happens. I think they vote tonight. I think it went through the House, and the final vote is tonight. And there's already some back and forth between the Republicans and the Democrats, which it's really depressing. It kind of holds the markets in hostage when you have one of these events. But we've seen this stuff over and over before. Good to have some cash on the sidelines a little bit in case there is a government shutdown or these guys. Guys and girls can't agree. I would think that would bring a little bit of volatility, but it remains to be seen. So certainly, I have a couple positions on. How I'm kind of positioned for that is, not too many short-term positions and options. Cash positions, don't touch. No trend is broken here. No need to overanalyze. And, I've got a couple of positions that will do well if we do have some volatility tomorrow, such as a couple of gold miners. I also have a small, I have sold call spreads in the SPX, and they will act as a buffer as well for me. But certainly those are not big positions for me. They'll provide a little bit of relief. But all in all, I really don't get worked up over those events and make too many decisions. So what did I do today? Really light trading. I think this was the lightest trading day for me probably in about 2 weeks, I would say. It just didn't feel like there was going to be momentum in the market for me to take positions. What we've been seeing so far this year is we've been able to get into positions, swing trade positions, maybe either in the morning or midday, and take a couple targets because of the market momentum, and then you're kind of left with a swing trade that was either maybe anywhere to 40 to 60% of what you originally took. So really nice to take profits off the table and so forth. But today didn't feel like we were going to get that, so I kind of I sat on my hands today for the most part. Looking at the charts, it's kind of the same thing as yesterday. So, of course, we had a little bit of digestion. We're down day today, down 30 basis points. And but still, there's nothing really to cry about here. We're still, or no adjustments really to be made. We're still overbought. We're still in an upward swing above the short-term moving averages. So you can try to anticipate if you like, but I'm not going to play that game other than just being responsible with my positions and management of positions. But I'm not going to predict when we start to go below that yellow line. We will get into the heart of earnings season next week. Maybe that'll bring some chop to the market. Nasdaq, same thing, kind of an inside day. IWM ducking a little bit below that yellow line, but notice there's not a lot of distance between the yellow line and the blue line, so not too much to fret about over there. All right, so what did we see today? And I would say couple different themes, I would say, today. A little bit of continuation from yesterday in the semiconductors. They did finish off the highs, but still they were, just double check, but I believe they were your best performing group for the second day. Yep, on top of the leaderboard. So again, a little bit of a tail on this candle, but I don't think anything major to worry about. They really went after AMD this morning. I think AMD is back below the 200-day moving average. Yeah, again, a little bit of a long tail on the top of this candle as well, but over the 200-day moving average. And if you want to play AMD to the long side, you've got your support, you've got your stop. A very easy stop level, the 200-day moving average. So what else did we see in this group? Right off the bat, we saw Applied Materials calls. I had started a trade. I think I talked about that in yesterday's video. Started a trade in Applied Materials yesterday. So I was long February calls, took some profits yesterday. Today, bam, it was up and off and running, and we saw a big call buyer. So what I did was I put my March position on, which is what we saw. I'll bring up that Applied Materials trade. Coordination. Those are the words, the buzzwords that keep coming up year after year. And So there we go. March 60 calls bought for 250. So what I did was I put this trade on, and then I took my position of February off. So really nice trade. Those were the February calls. I think I paid $1.65 yesterday, and I got out of them for $3 today. So almost a double. For where it was yesterday. And then we started to see some other things. Taiwan Semi, which is an ADR, the TSM version. This reported earnings last night. I don't think a lot of people paid too much attention to it, but they had a really solid earnings report, and they came in and they bought calls after earnings. So they went far out too, which this is the good stuff. Somebody positioning all the way out to January 2019. Basically at the money calls, maybe a little bit shy of at the money, but look at that size trade, $1.5 million trade that somebody is thinking that this goes. So again, the reason why I like these trades is you could kind of keep a memory of these as long as they don't unwind them, and then try to get into this trade when there's a little bit of a dip. Just kind of keep it in your back pocket. I did not start a trade or do anything in Taiwan Semi, but if it happens to kind of recheck back to the breakout zone, maybe you could get this trade for cheaper or trade around that position. So very healthy looking trade. Apple, we saw some calls for this one. Apple just didn't have the momentum. It was kind of like watching paint dry, but it did end up higher. I was able to take a target in my pre-earnings run-up trade in Apple. Paid 37 cents yesterday for the January 26 calls, and took a target at $1. So that was that was nice. A couple other things that I were just kind of noticing. I did not trade Facebook. I really haven't been that involved in the FANG stocks recently, but Facebook kind of looks interesting down there. Amazon finally coming in a little bit. Doji today. We'll see where that goes. Has earnings in about a week and a half, I believe. So we'll see if it comes in and checks back a little bit further, or if this is all we're going to get. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's all we're going to get. But again, we'll see there. PayPal, they continue to go after PayPal. It's almost a daily recurrence. New 52-week high today. Another 52-week high. Some other trades that we saw hit the tape today. Talked about PayPal. Some eBay. A lot of eBay right around earnings for eBay. So I'm always mindful of that when they buy earnings. Right around or right after the options expire the day after, but it doesn't look like it's a bad chart here. Broke the value area to the upside. A couple other charts to walk through. Yandex, they bought 500 Yandex right at the end of the day yesterday, about 30 seconds before the close. They bought some more, very small, light buying, but aggressive buying. Somebody was in there, and it had some nice momentum to it, Yandex. Breaking out. Speaking of breakouts, so I don't have a trend line here drawn, but you could actually just draw one right in here. That's a breakout for Yandex, so we'll see how long that lasts. Another name that I noticed did that was Caesars. We saw call buying in this name yesterday. So Caesars, real nice day, up 4% today, up 55 cents. A name that you could just possibly trade in stock, as it's at $14 or a little shy of that $14 limit. Another name that I'm watching is Red Hat. It did not trigger a long signal for me. It's right. It did close above the 50-day moving average, but I'm waiting for this to get into the value area for me to go long. Remember, we saw a call buyer in that name yesterday. Just to round out the activity, there were some nice Morgan Stanley calls purchased after earnings. Not that long in nature. They just went out to next week, and then there was also some February calls, which I would like to see somebody go out a little bit further, just like that Taiwan Semi trade. Tells me they have a little bit more conviction than just looking for momentum in the short term. There was chatter about EA. There was a little bit of EA calls. I'm still in a June call spread in that name. Been patiently watching, waiting for that name to get going, and it finally has turned the corner above the 200-day moving average. Where I will probably look to take this trade off is at that purple line. That is a Virgin point of control, VPOC. That would be a great place for me to take that trade off. So it's getting closer to that. Salesforce, if you haven't been watching Salesforce, it's quietly been just in beast mode So really nice new 52-week high. They bought calls on the 52-week high today. And then the last trade I'll talk about today, there's a couple other ones, but we'll leave it here for the day. Try to keep it a little bit shorter than normal considering the today's price action. But EUFN, this is the European Financials ETF. This is a trade that I would love to get involved in. I think I'm going to wait for a pullback in this one. I think it's a little bit extended here. Look at the RSI. But man, really nice looking trade in the European Financials ETF. Again, giving an, for me, I don't have to get in all these trades, especially if I don't think it's a great time to get in. But I think they rolled some January calls into the July 21 calls for 450. So rolling out and up a little bit there. And I'll wait for a little bit of a pullback because I think there's a lot of upside. If I go to the 5-year chart, you'll see what I mean. Or the further out daily chart. It's not letting me go further out. There we go. Yeah, so it still has a lot of price action to retrace. Notice the downward trend line broken. Also this line broken. Could be off to this 26 range. But again, I think a little bit too extended for me to start a trade here. Something just to keep in my back pocket and wait for a little bit better of an entry price. All right, so that's it for today's recap. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.